You ever see someone lie, cheat, or manipulate, and somehow they just keep winning, and you're sitting there thinking, seriously, where's the karma? Here's the truth: most people miss karma isn't always loud. It's not a lightning bolt from the sky. It's subtle, it's quiet, and it always arrives when the world isn't watching. Today, I want to show you exactly how karma works in real life. Not in some spiritual fairy tale, but in the way we treat people, the energy we carry, and the choices we make, especially when no one's looking. Because once you understand how this plays out, you'll stop chasing revenge and start living in a way that attracts the right people, the right outcomes. And yes, justice, too. Let's get into it. People often think of karma as some mystical force in the universe that punishes bad people and rewards good ones, like a cosmic scoreboard. But the truth is far more grounded and actually more powerful. Karma isn't magic, it's momentum. It's the natural result of the energy you consistently put into the world and how that energy builds and comes back over time. If you've ever been around someone who exudes kindness, integrity, and genuine care for others, you'll notice something subtle but consistent. Good things tend to flow their way, not always instantly, not always in obvious ways. But over time, the way they show up begins to shape their experience of the world. People trust them. Opportunities come to them. And even when they fail, others rally around to lift them up. That's not luck. That's momentum, karma in motion. Now flip that idea. Think about someone who constantly takes advantage of people, lies, manipulates, or cuts corners. They might succeed for a while, sometimes even for years. But what they're really doing is burning bridges they haven't even had to cross yet. They're stacking up resentment, mistrust, and isolation that will eventually catch up. And when things go wrong, as they always do in life, they find themselves without support, without goodwill, without the benefit of the doubt. That's karma too. It doesn't have to look like punishment. It looks like life unfolding in alignment with the energy you've been projecting all along. Momentum works in tiny, everyday moments. It's how you speak to the waiter, how you treat the colleague who can't help you right now, how you respond when someone messes up. Those aren't just random interactions. They're building blocks. Because what you do consistently creates a pattern, and patterns become reputation. And reputation, that's powerful currency. It's not something you can fake, because over time, people feel the truth of who you are. Your actions start to echo back to you. People either open doors or close them, based on how they've experienced you in the past. Karma is simply the ripple effect of your choices. And the thing about momentum is, it doesn't need to be perfect. You don't have to always say the right thing or make flawless decisions. What matters is direction. Are you trending toward honesty, toward care, toward courage, even when it's uncomfortable? Because the universe and people respond to patterns more than perfection. When you build positive momentum, the world starts responding to you in ways that feel almost effortless. Not because you're lucky, but because you're trusted, because your actions have been creating a sense of stability and integrity over time. On the flip side, negative momentum can be hard to notice at first. You can get away with a lot for a little while. You might even be praised for it. But the problem is, you're borrowing from a future where those shortcuts catch up. And when they do, you won't just face the consequences of the bad decision, you'll face the accumulated weight of all the burned trust that came before it. So when we talk about karma, we're not talking about superstition. We're talking about cause and effect. We're talking about momentum. The question isn't, will karma get them? It's, what direction are they building in? Because whatever direction you build in, the world eventually meets you there. Our life has a fascinating way of reflecting back the energy we bring into it. You've probably experienced it yourself without even realizing. Maybe there was a time when you were in a great mood, confident, calm, grounded, and you noticed how people reacted differently to you. Strangers smiled more, conversations flowed easier, and opportunities seemed to come out of nowhere. On the flip side, there are days when you carry stress, anger, or insecurity, and suddenly the world feels more resistant, more closed off, even hostile. That's not a coincidence. Life mirrors you back. It's not about magical thinking. It's about the emotional energy you emit and how others unconsciously respond to it. When you treat people with respect, when you listen instead of just waiting to speak, when you show up with empathy and presence, you create a feedback loop. People feel safe around you. They feel seen. And in return, they offer you more trust, more warmth, and often more generosity. That's karma, not in the sense of punishment or reward, but as reflection. You're shaping your experience by the way you show up. You might not always see the results immediately. In fact, some of the kindest people go unnoticed for a while. But over time, their consistency builds a foundation of relationships and reputations that elevate them. They get the benefit of the doubt when things go wrong. They're the first people others think of when an opportunity arises. Why? Because people remember how they felt around them, and those feelings turn into actions: support, referrals, friendship, loyalty. Now think about how the reverse plays out. Someone who constantly speaks with sarcasm, dismisses others, or makes everything about themselves might seem confident or even successful at first. But over time, people start pulling away. They don't speak up in meetings. They don't share opportunities. They don't defend them when something goes wrong. And most importantly, they don't trust them. That lack of trust is karma in action. It's not an external punishment. It's the internal reaction people have when they've been treated poorly one too many times. What's powerful, and a bit humbling, is realizing that you can't fake this reflection. You might get away with acting nice for a short while, but eventually your true intentions surface. People are intuitive. They pick up on your tone, your timing, your consistency. Are you being generous just when it benefits you? Are you listening just enough to respond, not to understand? These subtle cues tell people who you really are. And once they've seen that, their mirror adjusts. They treat you based on what they've felt, not what you've said. This doesn't mean you have to be perfect. You're going to have off days. You'll get frustrated, make mistakes, say the wrong thing. But what people really respond to is your pattern. Are you someone who owns your mistakes, who circles back and makes things right, who shows up more often with kindness than with ego? That's what sets the tone for how life reflects back to you. So every interaction becomes a choice. Do I want to create more openness or more defensiveness? More connection or more distance? You're shaping the answer every time you speak, every time you react, every time you show up. And what's incredible is that the smallest choices can shift the entire mirror. A single moment of empathy, a sincere apology, a quiet act of generosity with no expectation in return. These create ripples, sometimes immediate, sometimes delayed, but always felt. Life isn't keeping score, but it is paying attention. And over time, it always finds a way to reflect back who you've been. One of the biggest mistakes people make when thinking about karma is expecting it to work on their timeline. They want instant results. They want to see someone who wronged them fall apart immediately, or they want their good deeds to pay off the next day. But karma doesn't work like that. It doesn't operate on a 24-hour clock. It doesn't respond to impatience. A karma is not a vending machine where you put in kindness and immediately get success or justice in return. It's much more subtle, much more patient, and far more complex. The truth is, timing is a trap. Just because something hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't. And just because someone seems to be getting away with bad behavior right now doesn't mean they're free from the consequences. Karma is often slow because it's tied to deeper patterns, habits, values, and choices that play out over time. If someone constantly lies or manipulates others, that might work for a while. In fact, it can look like they're succeeding. They might be charming, persuasive, even admired in the short term. But underneath that surface, there's a structure being built, and it's incredibly unstable. It's built on fear, on mistrust, on broken relationships, and shallow wins. Eventually, that structure collapses, not because the universe punished them, but because the very foundation they built their life on was hollow. That collapse can take months, years, sometimes even decades. But it always comes. The longer it takes, the harder it hits. That's why patience is such a powerful form of wisdom. When you understand that karma unfolds in its own time, you stop obsessing over what happens to other people. You stop looking over your shoulder to see if they got what they deserved. You begin focusing on your own path, your own actions, and your own peace. Because while they're building a fragile house of cards, you're building something real, something rooted in trust, character, and intention. And when your moment comes, it's not a dramatic fall or sudden crisis. It's a steady rise that others might not even see coming. Timing becomes especially deceptive when emotions are involved. If someone hurt you, it's natural to want to see them experience the same pain. You want justice. You want balance. But sometimes waiting for karma to handle it feels like nothing's happening. That's when the temptation creeps in, to take matters into your own hands, to lash out, to get even. But in doing that, you shift your focus away from growth and into retaliation. You become part of a cycle instead of rising above it. Karma doesn't need your help, it needs your patience. And often, your best revenge is your ability to move on, level up, and stop letting someone else's actions control your energy. There's also something powerful in recognizing that karma might not even show up in the way you expect. Sometimes the person who wronged you never faces a public downfall. But you don't see the quiet emptiness they carry. You don't see the loss of deep relationships, the lack of peace, or the insecurity they hide behind the facade. Karma isn't always loud. It's not always visible. But it always exists in how someone experiences their own life. And often, the people who look they're winning are carrying battles they don't talk about. So, instead of watching the clock or counting the consequences, ask yourself, what am I building right now? What direction am I growing in? Because time reveals everything. It reveals character. It reveals intention. And it reveals whether someone's life is built on truth or on shortcuts. Karma may be silent, but it's never still. It's always moving, always observing, and always waiting for the right moment. Not to punish, but to balance. It's easy to get caught up in what other people are doing, especially when they've wronged you, disrespected you, or tried to sabotage your progress. The temptation is to turn your attention toward them, to track their moves, to wonder when they'll get what's coming to them. But here's the truth: most people miss. Karma protects the focused. When you stay committed to your own growth, your own peace, and your own purpose, life has a way of clearing the path for you. And the people who try to throw you off course, they eventually face the consequences. Not because you chased them down, but because they were never part of your journey to begin with. Focusing on someone else's downfall is one of the easiest ways to delay your own progress. It gives away your power. It keeps you emotionally tethered to the very energy you're trying to rise above. Every time you replay what they did, or strategize ways to get back at them, you're giving them more space in your life than they ever deserve. But when you stop feeding that story and redirect your energy inward, toward your own goals, your healing, your relationships, you start to create a kind of momentum that can't be interrupted by anyone else's drama. You begin to move with clarity, and that clarity is magnetic. It draws in better people, better opportunities, and a version of you that's no longer defined by what hurt you. Karma steps in when you don't, not because it's some divine punishment system, but because the truth always rises. People who act from ego, manipulation, or deceit are playing a short-term game. They might get what they want in the moment, but what they can't see is the long-term cost. Eventually, those patterns catch up. Relationships dry out, trust erodes, reputation declines, and they find themselves alone, misunderstood, or stuck in a cycle they created. You won't always get to witness that moment. You won't always be around to see it, but it happens. Because the energy we send out has a way of circling back. Meanwhile, when you stay focused, something powerful happens. You stop reacting and you start creating. You build things that last. You develop resilience because you're not constantly swinging at distractions. And perhaps most importantly, you protect your peace. That peace is everything. It's what allows you to make decisions from strength, not from fear or anger. It's what keeps you steady when things feel uncertain. And ironically, it's what draws people to you. Because in a world full of noise, your calm becomes rare. Letting karma handle what you don't need to is a radical form of trust. It's saying, I don't need to control the outcome. I just need to stay aligned with who I am. That doesn't mean you don't set boundaries or speak up when necessary, but it means you stop carrying emotional weight that was never yours to begin with. You stop needing to prove a point or win a battle that doesn't actually serve your future. You understand that justice, in the truest sense, isn't always about watching someone fall. It's about watching yourself rise. And when you do rise, you'll look back and realize something. The people who tried to hurt you didn't stop you. They just showed you where not to look. They revealed what you value, what you won't tolerate, and how strong you've actually become. That's karma at work too. Not just in what happens to them, but in what you gained by not letting them destroy you. In staying focused, you didn't just survive. You built something better. You became someone stronger. And that's the kind of karma no one can take away. When people talk about karma, they usually focus on what happens to someone after they've done something wrong, or what rewards come to those who've done something right. But there's a part of the equation that often gets overlooked: how you respond. Your reactions are just as much a part of karma as your actions. Life isn't only shaped by what others do to you, it's shaped by how you choose to handle it. Every reaction, every choice to rise above or sink down, adds another layer to the energy you're building. And over time, those reactions start defining who you are and how life responds to you in return. Think about a moment when someone tested you. Maybe they disrespected you, betrayed your trust, or treated you unfairly. You might have been justified in getting angry, lashing out, or proving a point. But in that space between what happened and how you reacted, you had a choice. That space is where karma gets written. Because while the world can't always control what it throws at you, you get to decide what you throw back. And when you choose to respond with dignity, with restraint, or even with silence, you're not being weak. You're being intentional. You're refusing to let someone else's control your direction. Reactions are powerful because they reveal what's going on inside of you. They show whether you're driven by ego or grounded in self-respect. Anyone can react impulsively. Anyone can clap back or get even. But it takes real strength to pause, to assess, and to decide whether that reaction actually serves your future. That doesn't mean you suppress your feelings or pretend things don't hurt. It means you process them in a way that protects your peace and doesn't fuel someone else's fire. Because not every situation deserves your energy. Not every insult needs a response. And not every betrayal deserves a breakdown. When you learn to master your reactions, you stop giving your power away. You stop letting other people write your story. Instead, you start showing up as someone who chooses their response. Not out of fear, but out of clarity. You're not pretending it didn't hurt. You're just choosing not to bleed all over people who didn't cut you. And in that moment, you build karma. Not the loud kind that punishes, but the quiet kind that protects. The kind that builds trust, respect, and a reputation for emotional strength that others notice, even if they don't say it out loud. The beautiful thing is that your reactions don't just impact the people involved in the moment, they echo outward. People watch how you handle pressure, how you deal with conflict, how you treat others when you have every right to be angry. Those moments shape how others see you, and more importantly, how you see yourself. When you look back on those moments later, you won't regret the times you stayed calm. You'll be proud of how you held your ground without losing your grace. That pride builds confidence, and that confidence builds momentum. It's all connected. Karma is not just about what comes back to you. It's about what you become in the process. Every time you choose a response that reflects higher self instead of your wounded self, you reinforce the kind of life you want to live, and life responds in kind. People start treating you differently. Opportunities come more naturally. Peace becomes easier to hold, not because life got easier, but because you became better at responding to it. That's karma in its most powerful form. Not punishment, not revenge, but evolution. And the best part is it's completely in your control. Every day, whether you realize it or not, you're writing the story of your life through your choices. Karma isn't just about whether you're a good or bad person. It's about the small, consistent decisions that shape who you become and how the world eventually meets you. People often think karma is some future judgment waiting to be handed down. But the truth is, karma is happening right now. It's in every conversation you have, every decision you make when no one's watching, and every time you choose between growth and comfort, honesty and convenience, reaction and reflection. What you do today sends a message to your future of your absence. The way you treat someone now might be the reason they trust you later, or the reason they don't. The discipline you build today might be the thing that carries through a storm you haven't faced yet. And the small betrayals of your own values, the shortcuts you think don't matter, those tend to show up later as regret, lost opportunities, or relationships that quietly fall apart. Karma isn't just about what happens to you. It's about what you're preparing yourself for, what you're building, and how those foundations hold up when life tests them. Most people underestimate the power of their daily habits and intentions. They want big results, fast changes, dramatic payoffs. But karma responds to consistency. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to keep pointing yourself in the right direction. If you're someone who keeps showing up with integrity, who keeps choosing courage over ease, who keeps doing the right thing even when it's inconvenient, life starts to reflect that back to you. People notice. Opportunities align. Peace becomes easier to find because you're not carrying the weight of guilt or confusion. You're not pretending to be someone you're not. You're aligned, and that alignment becomes your power. At the same time, karma isn't interested in your excuses. You might convince yourself that cutting corners just once is harmless, or that no one will know if you act out of fear or spite. And maybe in the moment, no one does, but you know. And your choices don't just affect others, they shape your own identity. Every time you lie, cheat, avoid, or betray, you tell yourself who you are. And even if the world doesn't catch up right away, eventually your own story does. You wake up feeling off. You start doubting your decisions. You carry the weight of choices that slowly erode your self-respect. That's karma too. Not dramatic punishment, but the quiet discomfort of living out of alignment. The empowering part is this: you can rewrite that story anytime. Karma is fluid. Every new decision you make becomes a turning point. You're never locked into your past. You're always creating new momentum, even one conscious choice. One moment where you decide to respond differently, to take the higher road, to put in the effort, can shift your entire trajectory. And the more you make those choices, the more they compound. Just like compound interest, small efforts made daily turn into major shifts over time. That's where the real magic happens. So the next time you feel like your actions don't matter, remember this: your life is the sum of your patterns, not your intentions. Karma is built not by what you hope to do someday, but by what you choose today. And today is a page in the story of your life. Write something worth reading, because eventually the world will read it too. To wrap it all up, karma isn't some distant force waiting to strike or reward. It's the natural outcome of how we live every single day. It's built in the small, consistent choices we make, the way we treat others, and how we respond when life tests us. When we understand that karma is really about momentum, reflection, and alignment, we stop chasing revenge or instant justice. Instead, we focus on becoming the best version of ourselves, trusting that life will meet us there. So choose your actions and reactions wisely, keep building positive momentum, and watch how the universe unfolds in your favor. not because it owes you, but because you earned it.